Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning. Good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And I am so excited for my guest today because we're really going to be talking a lot about the basics, which is it's so interesting because I think many times we skip over that stuff. You know, we just, oh yeah, we know what to do. And we don't. We really don't understand some of the very basics as to how to market and promote your business. And so please join me in welcoming Gary Geiman to our program today. Welcome, Gary. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Deb.
Great. Well, we're going to have so much fun. And so let me tell people just a little bit about you, and then we will dive into this. So Gary Geiman is a serial entrepreneur and business owner. His 30-year career has spanned owning multiple businesses and developing sales and marketing plans to assist other business owners in growing their businesses. Gary looks to help business owners focus on growing revenue with multiple lead sources. Today, he owns and operates DMN8 Partners, and he spells that DMN8 Partners, a digital marketing and consulting company that helps business owners dominate their competition and market. He has also written Dominate Your Market in 90 Days, a step-by-step guide to grow your revenue. So again, Gary, welcome.
Thanks for having me. Looking forward to the next hour.
I know we're going to have so much fun. And I had a great time reading your book because, we'll obviously talk in detail about it, but it had so many great tips in there that, like I said, we sometimes forget to do because they are the basic tips, but they are also the foundation for everything else that we do. So I always like to ask my guests to tell me a little bit about how they got to where they are today, and how did you discover that this is your passion in life?
Well, I just turned 50 October 1st. We were talking before we started how it's hard to believe it's going to be the end of October.
Oh, I know.
We know it, right?
Good golly.
My wife and I, we both turned 50 this year. I turned 50 first, so she says she's married to an older man.
Of course.
She turns 50 November 15th. So we went to Italy for 2 weeks, and we just got back the other day, and so I'm catching up. But I said all that because I've been doing a lot of, when you get older, you start to reflect a lot more. When you're 20, 30, 35, like reflection, it's all about going forward. But been reflecting a lot on things like succession in this business, what my next kind of step is. And I was taken back to 19-year-old me. And at the time, my focus was making money as much as I possibly could.
Right.
Grew up with less than desirable circumstances, didn't have a lot of money, never really knew any entrepreneurs or people that kind of do the things that I do in the circles that I hang around now. So the only thing I knew was to hustle, that word hustle. Right. Work hard, hustle, those kind of things. So I was always doing multiple things. At the time, I think I was valet parking 2 or 3 nights a week. Was also helping out different service businesses when they needed help. And then I saw an ad for lawn care, a company that isn't around anymore, but it used to be pretty well known, ChemLawn Lawn Care, which I think now is True Green Lawn Care. Went to work for them to do sales. Never had I done sales before. I could talk to people, but didn't know how to do sales. About the only sales I'd done before that was trying to talk teachers out of kicking me out of their class, right? So go to this job and really don't have any clue about what's going to be happening. And I live in Cincinnati, so we have 4 seasons, and the 4 seasons are pretty when winter starts, winter's here. When spring starts, same thing. So this was in December, first week of December. Go through like 2 or 3 days of training, and then they put us on the phone. And they didn't want us calling new leads. So we got to call all the people that had canceled in the past couple of years. You know,
and you're calling them in the winter when they don't need this.
December 8th, actually. I remember the day of my first call. And very pivotal moment for me, because at that moment, it was like, is this for me or is this not for me? And one of the first calls that I had, a retired gentleman answers the phone. He's not really fond of me calling, especially from a company that had really irritated him in the past. And my sales manager had told me, like, no isn't the end. No is the beginning of your journey. And so it was always like, to get, he was really good at teaching us that no wasn't the end. Like when you heard it no, that was an opportunity. A lot of people in sales today, they're afraid of the no.
Right.
Really,
and then they don't know what to do.
Right. When really the no is the problem that you need to solve. Right. And the bigger the problems you solve determines the more money that you're going to be able to make. And he was really, really good at driving that home to a 19-year-old kid. And I was really excited because of the commission. Like, let's be honest, I was getting paid per hour to make these calls, but commission is where everything kind of in my mind was. And so guy gets on the phone. It's early in the day, so there wasn't going to be a lot of opportunity. So I knew I had to keep this guy interested. So we started talking. He brought up the same thing that you said, do you realize this is December? And in fact, that day it had snowed a little bit, not a lot, just a little bit of snow. Yeah. And so he was referring back to how intelligent I was to call him on a day that it had snowed. And that's not how he said it. But he wasn't really fond of my call. And so we just began to talk. And I did a few things right that I've come to know that I have to do those things all the time. Number one is listen, let him talk, let them talk. When someone has a problem that you've been involved in somehow, even though I didn't create it, most times people, if you just let them air their concern, and then once they're done, then provide some solutions, they come away a lot better. Instead of one of the things that I like to do to my wife, and she hates it, I like to solve all of her problems before she tells me what the problem is.
She didn't ask for help. You're just going to fix it for her.
Exactly. And for some reason that doesn't really go over well. So I got to shut up. Right. So with him, I was listening, and honestly, I was listening because I really didn't know a whole lot about the business or anything. So the only thing I could do was listen and ask questions. And we got to probably a very pivotal moment in that phone call. And I said to him, what is it that you wanted from Chemlon at the time that you didn't get? And he said to me, well, somebody that I could reach out to with my concerns instead of having to call a number and figure out who I was going to talk to.
Okay.
So I knew his problem that he wanted solved. He wanted a direct contact. So I told him, hey, I'll be your direct contact. Who knew if I was going to be there in 2 months, 2 years, whatever. But at the moment, I'll be your direct contact. Look, if this doesn't work, I'll make sure that we do right by you. The guy signs up, right? My first sale. I had two feelings at that moment. Number one, the worst thing that I did was I felt like, oh, this is going to be easy. That was one of the feelings. But the other feeling I felt was that feeling of success on the phone. And I remember going through the rest of that week and just wanting to get back to another one of those calls, My first year there, which, was a full year basically, but my first year there, I got to third in the company in sales. And at the time, Chemlon had about 5,000 salespeople. Right. And I got to third in the company in sales as, I turned 20 by the time I had achieved that, working a little bit more than part-time in, 1992, made almost $30,000 at Chemlon, working about 30 hours a week.
Not bad as a 20-year-old.
Not bad at all, right? And I also valeted and did some things. So I made a lot of money early, but I had to work my butt off, and I worked a lot of hours to do it. But it taught me a few things. Number one, resourcefulness, and it also taught me my superpower, which is persistence. Like, I don't give up.
Right.
And I think understanding and being able to grab hold of that one sales call that I had, anytime anybody asks me, how'd you get started? Like, that is the pivotal thing. But then I can go through and I can look at opportunities that came my way. I ended up in working for a mortgage brokerage, two owners in that owned a company had seen me in a role where I called on mortgage brokers. This was a couple years later, and they liked my passion and my fire, because by that time, like, I was excited. I knew that you had to be positive and you had to be willing to talk to people, and they liked and appreciated that. They were trying to figure out ways to grow their company, and hey, why not hire a 24-year-old who has no clue about the mortgage industry to grow our company? Great idea. And
Sure.
they pitched me, oh yeah, by the way, this is commission only, so you're not going to get a salary anymore, and but you can make a lot of money. And it took me about 60 days to think about that. And I remember the day that I made the decision, I called him up and I said, I'm ready to make a decision. The only thing I want to know is, will you show me how to go get leads? And they said, yeah, we'll show you. I was like, okay, I'll start tomorrow. So basically how you got leads at this point was you went to the courthouse and you found people that had loans with higher interest finance companies. And then you went back to the phone book, not Google, unfortunately, went back to the phone book.
Tracked them down.
And got their phone number and gave them a call. And I learned that quickly. From there, took my telemarketing skills and grew a telemarketing agency basically for that mortgage brokerage. I ended up starting my own mortgage company in 1999. We were one of the top 3 mortgage brokerages in Cincinnati, and had that basically as my background. 2007, 2008 hit, and I was not a company that went after federal licensing. It was always state licensing, and so I didn't have access to specific lenders that stayed in business, because there was a ton that went out then, and so we had to close. And so I hit my first really hard roadblock as an adult. Had a lot of roadblocks as kids, but hit a really hard roadblock as an adult. And I'll tell you this, Deb, I went away from that experience and I did not want to own a business again.
I bet.
I was like, that hurt. If you remember, the old adage, your mom or dad tells you don't put your hand on the hot stove, right? And
you put your hand on that hot stove.
And then, that's why you didn't want me to do it, right? I felt that times about 100 when that company went away. It was my identity. It was who I was.
It was your baby.
It was my baby. Yeah. And not to mention, we had a ton of employees. Like, the list goes on and on of why that hurt. So for 2 years, I didn't want to I didn't want to own another business. So I went to work for a company, ran their national sales department, and I had a goal. It's funny, had a goal that by 50, I was going to get my teacher's license, and I coached basketball as a paraprofessional at high schools then at that time. I was like, I'm just going to become a teacher when I turn 50 and coach basketball, and that's going to be my retirement job. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Well, while I love coaching, I don't like parents.
Well, and it's the helicopter parents, right? Yeah.
And I tell you what, then I can only imagine what it is like now. Then it was bad. I mean, I coached high school basketball 2008 to about 2011. For 4 seasons. It was great. But I knew that the teaching ideal was just my way to try to escape that pain. So I'm working every day at this company as our national sales manager, building this owner's dream, right? Doing exactly what that owner wanted me to do to build his dream. And I had that kind of thought one day, traveled a ton. I'm 150,000 miles a year. I was always platinum or diamond on Delta, and probably had miles on other carriers as well. So traveled a ton, just not a lot of time to be able to do a lot of things except build his dream.
His dream.
His, not my dream. I
Mhm.
remember it was 2012, and my boss, who was the chief operating officer, he said to me, he goes, you know, we have, and he was mid 60s at the time, and I was their succession plan for him. And said to me, he was like, you know, you're gonna have to really, really work on building your relationship with this, with the owner, with our owner. He was an absentee owner, but he was one of those guys, like he liked to show his stuff off. And at the end of every month, he wanted all of his directors to come to his house, and we would be show ponies to all of his friends. And I just didn't do those things. Like, you know, I did the work. We achieved numbers from the time I started to the time I left. We doubled revenue. We went from about 6.5 million to over 13 million in revenue annually. So, you know, we worked. And I can just remember that conversation in 2012. And I told him, I was like, yeah, that's, if it's a relationship, then that's not what I'm looking for. I'm here because of opportunity, and that opportunity is based upon a job I'm doing. And I started having those recollections of my dream and what I wanted to do. I never, you know, I always struggled with this. What's my purpose? What's my purpose? What's my purpose? And I remember talking to my wife, and she said to me, which is typical her, she said, worry about your purpose and just be nice. Well, sometimes
your purpose will come because of that.
Yeah. I was like, sometimes that's hard for me because I say what's on my mind way too much. So she was like, you'll figure it out. I know you will. And ceremoniously, I was let go of that position in on April 14 or April 15, 2014. And I remember, you know, sitting in my boss's office as he's telling me, hey, we no longer need your services. We're going to go a different direction. And they gave me a severance compensation package that paid me for another year.
Not bad.
Not bad at all, right? In 2012, right after we had that conversation, though, my brother, who was a firefighter at the time, was always looking for ways to make money. You know, firefighters are always underpaid. Almost every firefighter that I know has another source of income, and he was no different, looking for another way to make money. And he had called me. I was traveling at the time. He called me. He was like, hey, I got a great idea for a business. I said, you know what? I do too. I was just thinking about this. And I go, what's your idea? He goes, pressure washing. I was like, that sounds like a horrible idea.
Sounds like a lot of work, and you're getting wet and
He said, what's your idea? I said, carpet cleaning. He said, that sounds even worse. I'm like, yeah. So into 2012, we start talking a little bit more about that. He starts showing me videos of a guy who was in Lexington, Kentucky, which is about an hour and 10 minutes south of us, who owned a pressure washing company that, like, it was a legit business, and he was making money. And so I was like, that's interesting. And my brother was like, look, I got this equipment, this mowing equipment that I had bought. I can trade that, get a rig, and we'd be in business. He goes, can you help me with marketing and sales? Like, you do that, I'll help you. So 2013, he's working at the fire department full time. I'm working this job. I think we did $38,000 in revenue in 2013. Like, we were changing lives, right? I said that very tongue in cheek. You know, it's no money at all. 38 grand. Right? April 14th, April 15th, 2014, I get fired. I remember the first call I made. It was the next day, because it was, you know, even when you get fired and it's okay to get fired, like, it's still a punch in the gut. Right?
Oh yeah. You know, even if you had put your hand up and said, hey, put me on that list, they still didn't quite love you enough.
Exactly. Somebody punched me in the gut. And so it took me a little bit of time to brush my ego off. The first call I made, my brother, he answered the phone. He's like, I'm getting ready to go on a run. Like, he's working at the fire department. I said, that's fine. It's on. He goes, what's on? I was like, I just got fired, so it's on. He went, okay. And 2014, which was really our first full year in business, we did just over 160K in revenue, and really didn't know what we were doing.
Right.
It was just me and him.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I didn't know anything about using social media
Mm-hmm.
or Google or search or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got really focused on learning those things,
Mm-hmm.
and started networking in this industry
Mm-hmm.
or in that industry. And there's trade shows, there's all kinds of things. I mean,
Right.
there's probably 30 Facebook groups for pressure washing business owners. I
Wow.
own one of them.
Mm-hmm.
It has about 15,000 people in it, and it's a huge industry.
Mm-hmm.
Exterior cleaning, window cleaning, pressure washing, like all of those
Mm-hmm.
are combined. Pretty large industry.
Mm-hmm.
So the one problem we had though is I talked about Cincinnati being cold. You
Mm-hmm.
can't really clean outside with water when
Right. When it's gonna freeze. Mm-hmm.
So we found Christmas lights installation.
Because you had the equipment probably.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
it was one of those things where you use ladders, especially when you're cleaning gutters or roofs, which are two things that we always clean. And so we had that. At the same time, Christmas lights was a way to hit our customer database and provide a service.
yeah, remind them that you were there.
Yeah. At the time, there wasn't a lot of Christmas light installers in our market. Probably across the country, there wasn't a lot. Now, you drive down the road, you see signs that
Yeah, the little
yeah, and it's pretty decent business. And so we found that helped us extend our company to where we went from making revenue about 9 months out of the year to where it was almost a year-round business. And we really got focused on learning how to promote ourselves on social media and search. 2017 was a big year for us. We did 7 figures
wow
that year. Google searches, like if you put in pressure washing in our market, we were showing up in ads. We showed up in Google Maps. We showed up organically, number 1. Boom, boom, boom. Same thing with Christmas lights. Like we owned it. I can remember November 2016, I started really getting aggressive on my personal Facebook page, just promoting. And I had somebody call me one time real early on with that. And I wasn't just talking about our company. I was also providing value to other business owners.
Why should we be doing this? And
well, exactly. Like here's what we're doing. Here's what's happening. And I had somebody call me and they asked me, like, what's your goal with that? I was like, I'm just providing value.
Education.
Value back. Exactly. Look, I needed to know this. We learned it. So now I'm giving it back. There are people that taught me stuff. So I'm just giving it back. And begin to build up 2 things. One, a business, our exterior cleaning, Christmas light business. But then also started to get a following of other pressure washing business owners. And I remember somebody reached out to me. It's a couple months later. This was right before the spring in 2017. And they said, do you have about 10 or 15 minutes? We can hop on a call. I have some questions to ask you. Like, sure. So we hop on a call, we go back and forth. And he starts telling me about his business. And he had reached out to me wanting my help. I remember asking him, I was like, so what did you end up doing in 2016? He goes, we had $2.5 million. I'm just trying to get on your level. And I'm like, dude, we didn't even,
we need to get to your level.
Like we were barely over $300,000 last year in 2016.
But you gave the impression.
I gave the impression. I was giving the value. And so we go through 2017. We did 7 figures. It was it's one of those things. I talked about this to someone else recently. As business owners, you get these revenue thresholds in your mind, right? And I used to always be like, I want to get to 7 figures. And our mortgage company, we grew that. We did a couple million a year. Pressure washing, we got a little over 7 figures. We actually ended up selling that business in August of 2018. And it's still around. It's part of a national company now. But I'd always have that 7 figures, 7 figures.
Right.
Talking to an individual a couple weeks ago, and I said, I got to change that number to 8. Like, I got to focus on that next level. I got to focus on the 9, the 8
Mhm.
figure, the 9 figure, because I feel like we throttle ourselves based upon what we make as our goals.
Right.
Right. I
Yeah.
have
When we
clients.
make our goal, it's like, okay, fine.
Yeah. So I have clients that do Christmas lights now, and they'll tell me, yeah, I just want to do $100,000 in Christmas light revenue this year.
Mhm.
So I tell them, like, so what's going to happen is you're barely going to get to 100 grand.
Mhm.
Like, that's what's going to, because it's like this release that you have
Mhm.
when you get there, and then you stop.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. We made it. As
Yeah.
opposed to, okay, now we're going to make a
We're just
quarter of a
on our way.
million.
Yeah. We're just on our way.
Mhm.
And so I think as business owners, we definitely put a hamper or an inability in place
Mhm.
psychologically by
Mhm.
doing that. And so I can remember having a conversation with someone. It was August of 2017. And remember, somebody had asked me, hey, what are you planning on doing with all that value you're putting out there? I have no
Mhm.
idea. August 2017, they said, hey, can you teach us how to do Christmas lights? Everything that you guys do, your marketing, your
Mhm.
sales, your estimating, all that stuff. So I talked to my brother. I was like, what do you think? Like, we could use Facebook Live.
Mhm.
I'll do a couple segments on sales, a couple on marketing, a couple on estimating, and then you can do some stuff on technical, because I'm not the technical guy.
Mhm.
He's like, sure, sure. He's like, what do you think we can make? I was like, I don't know.
Yeah. Mhm.
So I said, I tell you what, I'll tell people $500. We'll do
Mhm.
Facebook Live. We'll put it in a Facebook group. They got to show up for the live. If they're
Mhm.
not there, the video's there. They can watch it,
Right.
whatever. So we do that. This was mid-August, and I remember telling my wife, that person that asked me why we're doing this,
Mhm.
by the end of September, we had made $30,000 off of doing that.
I
Right?
love it. And you never thought, well, wait a minute, these are my competitors.
No, yeah, no, yeah. It was, you're helping others achieve
Mhm.
their goal, achieve their dream. And at that moment, I figured out what my purpose was. My purpose was to help other business owners reach the level of success that
Mhm.
they want to achieve. It's not my job to figure out what their level of success is.
Right. Mhm.
It's my job to give them a ramp to help them
Mhm.
get there.
Mhm.
And so DMN8 Partners was basically born then.
Mhm.
We started out selling courses,
Mhm.
and let's be honest, courses, that's hard. Like, people don't watch courses. They'll buy it, and I'm guilty of it too. I'll buy a
Right.
course and I'll let
Oh,
it
yeah, and you
sit.
might even start watching it, but wait, the phone
Don't
rang, the
finish.
email,
Right.
mhm.
Yeah. So we started that for about the first 6 months. Then we started putting Google ad campaigns together. And by May of 2018, I knew that we were going to be selling. I started having conversations with a private equity company. And so I got really focused on growing this business
Mhm.
and figuring out what the next step was. So we sold it 2018. I'm full. I go full time. At the time, I had like 2 employees. I
Mhm.
think now we're at like 10 employees.
Mm.
But in 2019, I was asked to speak, be a keynote at a industry convention,
Mhm.
and I always get asked this question by business owners, regardless of what vertical they're in. Most of my customers are home service, so
Mhm.
any type of company that services homes,
Right.
HVAC,
Mhm.
plumbing, junk removal, pressure
Mhm.
washing, carpet, like those are our clients,
Mhm.
right? I always get asked the same questions. Gary, what should I do to grow my business? What should I do to find customers? What do I
Mhm.
need to do? Blah, blah. And it's always usually guys that are just starting out
Mhm.
or early, right?
Right.
And
Mhm.
trust me, I I love money, and I don't mind taking people's money, but I do mind taking people's money when they don't have it to give me, right?
Right. Mhm.
And especially people that are new in business.
Mm.
And so I was like, you know what? Instead of having phone calls with these people all the time, because I would get on the phone and
Mhm.
be like, here's what you should do. Boom, 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 boom.
Mhm.
So instead of doing that, I write a book and give them the
Right.
first 90-day template
Mhm.
that I used
Mhm.
to get to the point to where
Mhm.
we became self-sufficient.
Mhm.
So when I look at companies to hire us, I'm looking for about $250,000 plus in revenue. If they're
Mhm.
under that, they're not quite at the point.
Right. They need to buy the book and follow the book.
Yeah, they need to do some things that generate revenue, right? And so I've read all kinds of marketing and sales books, and there's a lot of good ones out there, trust me. But I knew two things. One, if you didn't tell people what to do and show them how to do it, then they wouldn't do it.
Right.
And then if you didn't make it easy, they weren't going to do it. So I set out writing this book. Number one, 4th grade level maximum. Like it has to be 4th grade level.
Right.
And so,
you're not talking down to anybody. You're making it easy to understand.
Right. The average individual reads at a 6th or 7th grade level anyway.
Right.
So at 4th grade, it's easy. It's not, C spot, run, but it is, we're not using big words that somebody's got to look up what it means. And we're being very functional in what it is we're telling people to do. At the end of the day, if you want to be successful in business, it comes down to one thing, and that's taking action. Plans are great. Having plans, planning, having focus groups, all that stuff, it's great. But the thing that it keeps you from doing is taking action.
Right.
I tell
when you're in a planning stage forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So our company, we have a few core values that we live by, but our underlying core value that basically represents our company and what our focus is production over perfection. And basically what that means is if you produce, and maybe it's not perfect, you're going to beat people that are waiting until it's perfect.
Right.
There's a reason why Tesla sells more electric vehicles than anybody else. They started first, right? I believe that speed is the biggest currency that businesses don't take advantage of. We want everything to be perfect. We deal with it all the time. We design somebody's website. We're working on social media. We're developing content.
And they're arguing over a comma.
Exactly. I tell them all the time, like, if you want to get to the point you want to get, let us handle it. If you see something you don't like, you tell us. We can change it. Life doesn't end. I know what I'm doing. We're not going to, put something out there that makes you look stupid. But if you wait until it's perfect, other people are going to pass you by.
Right.
I tell people this all the time. If I'm in your industry and I'm in your market and I decide that we're going to compete, I'm going to beat you every time because I'm going to be the fastest and the quickest. And that is going to win. And see, as businesses, we have to realize what separates us from our competition. Like, especially in the home service industry, you hear these buzzwords. Well, we provide great service, right?
Okay.
Doesn't everybody, right? The customer,
like you're going to say, we provide average service.
The customer's sitting there going, well, what does that mean to me, right? And we forget this as business owners, that customers listen to the same radio station called What's in It for Me. That's all they care about, right? And so if you want something done at your house, you probably want it done as soon as possible at the best price available, and you want to get it done completely. Like those three things usually is what a homeowner, when they want something done, that's how they want it. So when you think about from their perspective, guys and girls get caught up in, oh, my uniforms are so pretty.
Oh, we have nice trucks. They have such good wraparound graphics.
Nice trucks. I'm going to tell you something. We own 9 trucks with our pressure washing business. None of them, and I mean none of them, had any lettering or wraps on them. I had other guys that own businesses and industries. They would come in and see my stuff, and they would just pull their hair out. Like, why aren't you putting wraps on them? I'm like, well, the $3,000 that I would do that, I was using to get other leads, or honestly, I was putting it in my pocket. Like, I didn't need it. It wasn't something I needed. Now, did we show up like idiots? No. Like, we were uniform.
You were professional. Yeah.
Everything was clean. Like, that's what you have to focus on, is what does that customer care about? And we focus on, what do we care about? We're not buying our product, right? It's important to be proud of what it is you do. It's important to have pride in what you do and pride in service. There used to be an underwriting condition related to buying a house in mortgage underwriting that was called pride in ownership. And the appraiser would go in the house and he would say, the house is clean and it's neat and everything is in repair. They have pride in ownership.
Right.
With your business, you definitely want to have pride in ownership. You should be proud of your business. You should be proud to do what it is you do. But don't forget who is buying the service from you.
Right. I don't care that you're proud of your business.
Exactly. Exactly. And that keeps people from being successful. It keeps them from promoting themselves on social media. It keeps them from being themselves sometimes. Right. My favorite is this. An individual will get on social media and it's kind of like the mom or dad, you know, they're yelling at their kid, do this, do that. The phone rings, they answer the phone. Hello, how can I help you? You know,
yes, they're all of a sudden switching to professional mode.
Exactly. And business owners do that. And why do you do that? Like, what is it that you're doing that is making you have to change who you are? People want to do business with people. Sure, there's large brands where that isn't the case. Apple, Amazon, Uber, sure.
Right. You're just doing business with them because they're easier, they're whatever.
Right. But think about the restaurants that you go to a lot. Think about the services that you use a lot. Why are you using those services? Well, the restaurant, they make good food, probably. That's probably part of it. But then there's people there. Right. One of our favorite restaurants to go to locally, it's not this like really fancy place. But the owner takes time out of her day all the time to talk to you and make you feel
you're a guest in her house.
About coming. Exactly. And she does a great job at that. Our dry cleaner. The dry cleaner we go to is the furthest dry cleaner that we could go to from our house. Like from the office to the house, the dry cleaner is not in between. You have to go past the office.
You have to go out of your way.
Yes. And I've been going to that dry cleaner for 25 years. And when me and my wife got married, I introduced her to my dry cleaner. And that's where we go. Now she takes my clothes all the time. They don't even remember who I am. Like when I walk in, they'll say, where's your wife? Like, guys, I'm here. But we go there because it is a personal level experience, right? And they care about the customer and they get into that moment of connection. And we get so worried and wrapped up in our brand looking perfect, you know, the color of our uniforms or how we present or the things on our website have to be perfect, like, and we don't focus on what's important, and that is the connection to the customer. I can tell you this. The reason why we grew our business quickly is because I started connecting with people on my personal Facebook page. You ask marketers, they'll say, use your business page so you can grab the analytics. Now you can get professional profiles on Facebook and it doesn't matter. But back then it did. And I was like, but that's not where I'm at. I'm on
your business is you.
It's me. I can tell you, Deb, last year in July, I got 21 requests for pressure washing between my cell phone and my email because I used to use them all the time as ways that I got information. And the last time that I had used them was 2016. Last year was 2021. Over 20 leads. Now, I'm on a non-compete, so I couldn't do anything with them. But over 20 leads, people reaching out to me. They don't even remember the name of the company.
Right. They're calling you. They're not calling the company.
Gary, I need you. Gary, I need you. I can remember giving up, answering the phone and doing quotes. This was in like early 2017. Because that was the last kind of piece of the business that I gave up. And for like 3 or 4 months, people, can I talk to Gary? Can I talk to Gary?
Yeah.
And we had to train them that somebody else was going to take care of them. Sometimes I still had to talk to them.
Right.
But we had to train them. But I still sold the company. You know, people say, yeah, but how are you going to scale it? How are you going to do this? Look, we had SOPs in place. We had people in place. And I still sold the company to a national buyer. And I did not work there the day after we sold it. Like it wasn't you got to stick around.
Right.
No, sold it. Here's the keys. I left. And I prove everybody wrong when they say, oh, you gotta create this brand outside of yourself. No, you don't. No, you don't. You have to create a brand that people remember, and a lot of times they remember you.
Right. Well, and
And I think,
especially when you're a small business,
yes,
because, I don't care if you have 1, 10, 20, however many employees, it's still that person. And it's their posts I read on Facebook, it's their posts I read on LinkedIn. I'm not reading their sales guys, maybe, but yeah, I still want to know the owner. And it's the owner who goes to the chamber meetings and all of those various things. The salespeople might go with them, but the
right,
owner is who's there because they're the face of that business.
right, yeah. And there's all kinds of ways to promote yourself these days. The billboard is now Facebook, the newspaper ad is now Facebook or Google, and there's just so many ways to promote yourself. If you own a business, like, the thing you have to focus on is connecting with people, regardless if that's social media, if that's through a telephone or an email. You have to connect with people. The numbers don't change. Like,
Right.
you still have to make touches. You just have new and different ways to be able to make touches.
Right.
Like, to touch 100 people 20 years ago, it would take you all day to make those phone calls. To touch 100 people today, I could go live on Facebook and probably not.
Right. It's 10 minutes.
Right. And but it still goes back to the action. I can't tell you the number of business owners that even that are our clients, they get satisfied with maybe a lead source or 2 lead sources, and then gas prices go up. So homeowners don't have as much disposable income.
Right.
Oh my God, what are we going to do? All we're going to do is we're going to work on action. We're going to work on activity. We're going to work on doing things that make you successful.
Right.
And, if you focus on action and activity on a daily basis, you're always going to eat. You're always going to eat.
Right. And you might be eating fillets.
Right. It's a thing of, what do I need to do today to impact someone's life now? Like, I always was told, if you look at your activity on a daily basis, like a stoplight, red, yellow, green. Green are the things that you're going to impact someone today. Yellow, you're going to impact somebody in the next week or two, and red, maybe in the next couple months. Right? You should be making red, yellow, green impacts on a daily basis, so that relates to your revenue. So if you're in business, you own a business, you should always be thinking about, okay, 5 new people I should be adding to my CRM every single day. That just means information.
Right.
Name, address, phone, email. 5 new people. Then 5 touches I should make to somebody that I haven't talked to in at least 30 to 45 days. And then 5 touches with somebody who I've quoted, given information to, that needs to make a decision. They need to tell me yes, or they need to tell me no.
Yep.
15 touches every single day, red, yellow, green. And if you do those 15 touches every single day, 30, 60, 90 days down the road, you're going to have a pipeline of people that are buying from you, that know you, and that are beginning to like you. And as you get them to know who you are,
trust,
they can trust you, and then they're going to give you their money. And the days that you focus on red, yellow, green, red, yellow, green, red, yellow, green, are going to be it's going to perpetuate itself.
Right.
6, 9, 12 weeks down the road, and you're going to see the benefit.
Right.
If you don't do it today, then it's later down the road. And every day you have to focus on those 3 5s. 5 new people, 5 people that haven't heard from you in a while, and 5 people that need to tell you yes or no.
Right.
But Gary, I don't have 5 people to tell me yes or no. Okay, so begin creating those people.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere.
Exactly. And the way to do it is by giving people value, providing value. I tell we have a couple house cleaning companies. I was on the phone with one the other day, and she was like, I don't know what to talk about on Facebook, because I tell them all the time, like, you should be going live multiple times per day. Like, we do reels and shorts for our clients and put them on Facebook and Instagram and all that, but that doesn't take away them going live. Like, you need to go live every day. You should go on live every day and talk about a cleaning tip. It's like, what do you mean?
I want to see how somebody cleans a stove.
Yeah. I was like the other day, I was eating. I never spill anything on me at all unless I'm wearing white. And I was wearing white shorts, and I got ketchup on my white shorts. I told her, I was like, you should tell people how to get ketchup out of white shorts, out of white clothes, because it happens more than you think. And she was like, really? I was like, yeah. If you tell people how to do it and you give them a couple different ways, then they see you as an expert. And then the next time that they need to find something, they're gonna go look for you. And as you begin to build that content, then you become credible. And you know what? We need somebody to clean our house. We need somebody to get ready for a party. Like, we lost our housekeeper. Now we need, like, that is what you're doing. You're setting yourself up.
You're always top of mind.
Exactly. And so focus on value, not dollars. If you focus on value, the dollars will come. If you're focused on dollars, people see right through that. I have a friend of mine, very successful in business, but his social media needs work because the only time he wants to get on is when he's selling. Now, it didn't used to be that way. He used to provide value all the time. But he's gotten away from that because it's so easy. It's so easy, right? And so he's gotten away from that, and he'll be like, well, I don't know why I don't have as much engagement. It's because the only thing you're ever doing is trying to get money. Instead of trying to get money, provide value. If you provide value, people are going to give you money at some point.
Right. And of course, the absolute critical thing is not to stop. How many times do we see businesses that they're like, well, we have as much business as we can do, and like you said, they hit that goal. And so they stop their marketing, their outreach, all of those things. Well, then business declines. And it's like you said, your buddy goes, well, wait a minute, where'd people go?
Yeah.
Just because and I mean, the worst thing is always to turn business away. So, you want to be able to have a resource to say, we're sorry, we can't do it right now, but here's another great company that we're going to refer you to, stuff like that. But yeah, the people who get to that point and then coast, they're always the ones that go, oh crap, now what? And unfortunately, I think COVID really hit home with people on that.
Sure. Yeah, I think you get to a point to where I feel comfortable. It feels comfortable, right? The thing you need to look at is if you're busy, like let's say, a lot of home service companies, 7 to 10 days, if you're booked out further than that and someone calls you and they try to get scheduled, you tell them that's going to be 2 weeks.
Then you've lost them.
Exactly.
Yep.
That's the time you need to raise your prices. And that's really hard for people to swallow. I know that because it's hard for me to swallow sometimes, right? I look back at my pricing from 3 years ago, and our pricing is almost 3x.
Wow.
In 3 years. Do I have the same amount of clients? No, we got a lot more. Because I continue to put value out.
Right. Well, and when you raise your prices, you're going to raise your income, which then you can hire more people.
And you make your service better. Like, I always look at it this way. When I go to raise prices, I look at ways to provide more value in what we're doing. It's not necessarily try to do more work, but to be more valuable in what it is that we do.
Yeah, so maybe you buy better equipment, things like that.
We used to not do like dashboards. We would send reports. And one of the first price increases that we did, I added dashboards so that customers would go online, log in, and all of their data is in one place.
Cool.
The funny thing is probably less than 10% of our people log in because we see when people log in and when they don't. But to a lot of people, it was a value add. Wow, you're going to.
And if you know you can, that's also good. I might not do it, but I know I could.
Exactly. So look for ways, like when you're where Deb, was saying, like, I got so much business, I don't need to do this. No, that's when you need to do it. And then you probably need to raise prices.
Right.
Look, there are people that are paying you for things that you're overworking your value. Right? Like, so maybe they're paying you something like, let's say $500, but really the value is $1,000.
Right.
Like, that's when you have to look at, okay, I need to get my customer here. I need to get my average ticket here. I need to get my revenue here. And what is it that I'm providing that gets me there? And what can we add that'll get me there? Will you lose customers? Sure. Like I remember first time we raised prices,
they were going to jump no matter what.
We lost 10% of our clients just like that. But I raised prices by 25%.
Ooh.
So we did we worked out okay. Our revenue still went up and we had less work to do. Right? So you have to look at where those opportunities are, but you can never, ever, ever stop promoting your business. Because when you do, now you're going to have a lull down the road, and that lull is going to come back to bite you a lot harder than just being.
That lull means you're going to have to let people go. I mean, all sorts of things.
Yeah. And so manage your service level with pricing. I mean, there's no other way to do it than that. And I tell my clients all the time, you're pushing up against that, whatever that window is that you can schedule out clients or what your capacity is. Let's say you're not in home service. Let's say you provide consulting or professional services. Like, what is that capacity?
Right. You only have so many hours per day.
Right. And if you're banging up against that, well, that means that now your time is more valuable because you're going to have to give your time to people in a way that requires you to be able to do more for people. So like you said, that means bringing on other people or adding other resources. But pricing is one of those things that if you don't get it right, you could be out of business quick because you're not accounting for the things that you're utilizing. And that is the one thing that business owners can use as a test to understand what really is the value of your service. I listen to a lot of people and that are a lot further along than I am. And it's funny, 2 podcast episodes within the last 3 weeks that I've listened to have been about price testing. And both of those people are in online professional consulting worlds. And they talk about how the testing of your price is going to determine what the value of your service is. If you don't test, you're never going to know. If you don't test that service that's $500 to see if it's worth $1,000, you're never going to know if it's worth $1,000.
Right. And it's not figuring out what your competitors are doing because they probably do it differently.
Yes. Yep. That's a great point. That's a great point. Worrying about your competitors is a great way to get your eye off the ball. Right.
Yeah, because then you're going to price things based on them. You know, you're gonna say, okay, well, they've been charging $100. We're gonna charge $75 because we think we're gonna get more clients. Well, maybe, but you just made yourself seem very much appear that you are less. You're gonna provide less value. So, okay, you might get those $75 guys, but they're also gonna jump to somebody else who's 50. Just without batting an eye. So it's back to what you were saying. It's that value. When you're able to charge for that value, you can charge for it.
One of the best one of the best kind of pictures that I've ever been painted about this is related to food. So go to the best steakhouse in your area. Go to the best steakhouse in your area. A lot of higher end steakhouses will do $10-15 million a year in revenue, right? And they're selling steaks for $80 to $150 a steak. All the sides are usually a la carte. 2 people go to eat at whatever your 5-star top line steakhouse is in your area. 2 people go eat, you're probably looking at a $300 bill, something like that.
And that's without alcohol.
Without alcohol, yeah. They're selling the meat from a cow, right? McDonald's also sells
they sell meat from a cow.
And one of their stores can do about $2 to $3 million a year in revenue, servicing a lot more people, and going through a lot more orders. What's the difference? The difference is the premium level of service and the delivery of that service.
Right.
So when you look at your business, how are you delivering service, and what is the level of that service that you're delivering?
Right.
And that can help you understand what your pricing needs to be.
And it all depends on what you're doing. I mean, you might want to be the McDonald's,
Right.
and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But
No.
you just have to have made that decision. You don't want to be McDonald's when you were shooting for Ruth Chris, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So but cool. Well, oh my gosh, Gary, you talk about time flying. I mean, we've already been chatting for an hour, and we didn't talk about the book. We didn't really talk, but everything that you're saying is in the book.
Right.
I love the book, which again is called Dominate Your Market in 90 Days, a step-by-step guide to grow your revenue. And what I liked about it is, yes, it is targeting home service people, but all the tips are good for everybody. And then you've got this grid laid out for 90 days. Here is what you do. And one of the things that I loved about it is you say, write about what you're grateful for. So not just, hey, here's what we're doing in business. What am I grateful for? But you've got all these tips and all this great information. And then you say, okay, you hit this. Now it's time for dinner and drinks. And all of those things. But it really is a great source because it's like I said at the very beginning, it's taking us back to the basics. What is your social media presence? What is your Google presence? Especially if you are a home service business. I go to Facebook and I say, hey, my refrigerator's not working, and maybe I get some names there, but the big thing I do is I go to Google, and I type refrigerator repair, and I want somebody who's close, all of those various things. So when somebody looks on Google, what are they going to find? And if they don't find you on page 1, it's not going to matter.
Not going to find you.
So you've got great tips in your book. You've got great information on your website. Which tell us about your website and what are the services that you provide?
Yeah, so we help companies with social media presence and search presence. We live off of 2 foundations there. One is be present, one is be found. Present, social media, always be on social media. We help businesses with filling in the gaps of social media to make sure you're consistent and continuous. We can also do, pay-per-click campaigns and things like that. With search, we focus heavily on being found on Google Maps, Google Ads, and organically. We've created software to help with search optimization in localities. So if you're in, for instance, the Atlanta market and you have every little city, town, neighborhood that you want to be ranking in, we have software that can help your website do that. We create websites. We do email marketing campaigns. So like, let's say you have a group of people you want to be in front of consistently, or if you have a customer database or a prospect database, we can create data, find data, scrape data, append data to your list. So you fill in all the blanks and maintain communication. And then we have some communication tools for things like text and email marketing, review acquisition, those kinds of things. So really our focus is to help you dominate your market in as many ways as possible. Our website is salvonow.com, salvonow.com. Salvo is a French and German military term from the turn of the century. It means to fire all your guns at once. And in marketing, you should be using every opportunity that you can to get in front of as many people as you can. So check us out there, or you can find me on Facebook, facebook.com/Gary Geiman. Pretty simple there. If you have questions about what you can do, what you need to do, maybe you don't even want to hire us, you just want to talk, reach out. I'd love to talk to you and help in any way that I can, because always talking to other business owners, I learn just as much sometimes as they do. They don't understand that, but that's part of that process.
Right. And obviously they can get the book, which, as I said, it's a great resource. And as I was reading it, it really was, and some of it was, I have forgotten to be doing those things, right? And so it's a great resource. And I don't care if you're in business starting yesterday or 10, 20 years, there's wonderful information in it.
I think I'll leave you with this. One thing I put in the book, and you mentioned it, every business owner needs to develop their skill to be able to write. And because you have so many opportunities for communication, email, especially written communication, email, ads, if you're trying to push articles, like so many opportunities for writing. So you need to develop that writing skill. I write on a daily basis for that, but also to be able to get things out of my head. It's one of the ways that I start my day. If you look at my notes app in my phone, it is long and it's a lot of jibber jab, but it's me writing. And that's one exercise that I have people do every single day as part of the 90 days is to write. And it's not always writing about business. It's not always writing about personal. It's to write 300 words every single day to get your mind thinking. It's a great way to start the day. And as a business owner, you need to develop that skill. You develop that skill, you can do a lot of things with it.
Perfect. I love it. Well, normally I ask for a final thought. You just did it. So that was absolutely fantastic. I've been having such a fun conversation. We have to do it again because we just scratched the surface. So we will definitely have you on again. But until then, I'm Deb Creer. I've been talking with Gary Geiman of DMN8 Partners. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.